Welcome to a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda.
Good morning. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the June 28th meeting of the Lorain County Board of Commissioners. Our thought for the day is Proverbs 18, verse 2 and 3. Fools have no interest in understanding. They only want to air their own opinions. Doing wrong leads to disgrace, and scandalous behavior brings contempt. And Commissioner Kalo has our dog from the kennel, our pony from the kennel, I should say.
Hi there. Hello. Sit down. You sit? Can you sit? You don't sit? Okay. Our featured dog this week is about a 6-year-old lab mix, male. Absolutely wonderful. He was found in Elyria, no tags, no collar, but he is available for adoption as of today. He'll make a great dog for your home. I had a labs for years, and this guy's friendly as can be. So stop by. If he's not quite your flavor, we've got 28 other dogs available.
Just last week we had a white albino Shih Tzu mix, and I had Tony Ann, our assistant, sent it to me, and I posted it on my Facebook page, and by the end of the day the dog was reunited with its owner, so they had pictures of them with their dog and everything, so it was a very happy ending. So I'm going to start doing that every week, hopefully, and maybe get more dogs back home.
I do. I post them across every week.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So. And that's another reason why you need to get your dog licensed, because the dog will make sure you get your dog back, because she had no clue that it was even at the dog kennel. It would have been adopted out to another family for sure. So, okay, Madam Clerk.
Under resolutions, we have no investments, so appropriations.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Transfers.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
No advances, no repayments, requisitions.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Lisa, do we know if that one was put back in or pulled out?
What do we look
941, I think it was. It was for, yeah.
I,
Did you pull it?
yes, it did.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why, and it didn't go back in. I'm sure it's benign, but it was for a couple thousand activity books, but there was no collateral. And to approve an activity book in the blind without even knowing what it is, I've had enough of that.
Okay.
So I pulled it out, and when they provide a sample of what they want to buy, I'm sure it'll be perfectly fine, but the sample wasn't there. And we've had some excitement on those things before, and I just don't need any more anxiety.
Okay. Well, the mystery is solved. I should have asked you, I guess. I asked everybody but you.
Actually,
where's this requisition?
Actually, purchasing asked me where it was, and I forgot I pulled it out too. So, and everything that's been going on this week, I had it, and
Okay.
so I tracked it down yesterday. But that was what it was. It was missing any kind of sample collateral material to demonstrate just what they were looking to buy. Too many times we're seeing that, and we know that it's poor to just have blind faith in something.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Travel.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Do we need to make a note of that for the requisitions to
It's
cross it out?
It is.
It is already crossed out? Gotcha.
Bills,
So moved.
Second.
discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Under the Commissioners, authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary sheet for employees within jurisdiction of Lorraine County Commissioners.
Mr. Cortez?
Thank you, Madam Commissioner. I do have a number of personnel issues and potential hires, possibly at 911. Let me pull the sheet up. It's been as you know, I'm not going to be here next week, so of course everybody decided that they were going to give me 2 and 3 weeks worth of work this week. We do have some summer hires that I'd like to talk to the board about for our youth experience program. Also, I met with some of the UAW folks with our ongoing negotiations and issues at the with the United Auto Workers and Job and Family Services employees. Potential sale of real estate and potential purchase of real estate, and one pending legal matter that I wish to discuss with the board. All of those issues are allowable under the Sunshine Act for executive session discussion, so I'd ask at the conclusion of our regular board meeting, we go into executive session, we talk about those issues that I've identified. Thank you.
Thank you.
Approve and waive the reading of the minutes of June 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Amendment Resolution 17409 on June 21st, 2017, modifying various resolutions and adopt a fee schedule for legal counsel appointed by the courts to represent indigent criminal defendants. Amendment is to reflect clarification of effective dates for payment for the cases.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Work contract to MJ Griffith Paving, Inc., Sheffield, in the amount of $57,644 for Abbey Road Annex, the Veteran Service Parking Lot Repairs Project. 3 bids received on May 30th, this being the most responsive complying with specifications. Issue notice to proceed on or before July 31st and complete on or before August 31st. Authorize administrator to notify the auditor to release retainage at completion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Declare it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation to provide funds for the operation of the county 911 system pursuant to ORC 5709.15 BB for 5 years to be placed on the November 7, 2017 ballot for the duplicate year 2018 collectible in 2019, and .50 mil replacement, .50 mil renewal, .50 renewal with a .5 increase, and .50 mil renewal with a .10 increase.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Yes. Mr. Cortez,
Yes.
we need to know what you're recommending.
You know, Commissioner, I've actually been looking this over for some weeks and actually some months, really. We have a lot of projects underway with 911. We spent quite a bit of funding on the Tyler New World platform to connect all the police forces with the same data. They're still maturing all that. I hope to have a nice presentation this summer. It didn't go as smoothly as we anticipated. We've talked about that before, but it is working. It's working nicely. Rather than being like smooth peanut butter, it was more like chunky peanut butter. But we've accomplished what we wanted there. We've also worked on the GPS system for the county. I'm hoping to be able to get Phase 2 and Phase 3 of that moving this summer, and I get a report on Phase 1, which is in the middle of being implemented in the county. We paid for that. We've also done what I refer to as reverse 911. That was an initiative that you undertook. Saved all the jurisdictions in Lorain County tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars by joining into one contract provided under the umbrella of 911. Lot of work, a lot of initiatives. Not to mention we're building a new 911 center with the new generation of equipment that's going to be required over the next few years, and we're going to refurbish our existing center as our backup. So that's required an expenditure of quite a few dollars. The good thing is we prepared for that over the last several years. We did $5 million in bonding already, and that's completed to pay for a good portion of this. Over that time, what I anticipated being equipment in the $3 to $4 million range has significantly come down in cost technology is improving, costs are dropping on that very same equipment. Sometimes it's really great to be the person out there, the first pioneer, but being 2 or 3 or 4 back in the pack may save you some money. And we're seeing better pricing than we thought. I think the equipment will be, as I think I previously said, in the $1.5 to $2 million range. No guarantee this is first blush. I wish I could tell you I've negotiated the pricing and all the equipment we needed. So far, I really haven't, and that doesn't include the radio equipment. I'm talking about the 911 equipment itself. We do need extensive amount of radio equipment. As you know, we also put up the tower, and we have all that we're working on. But I think we have sufficient resources at hand to complete that project. If we run a little bit deep into our cash flow, I would probably recommend bonding that project, which will give us additional cash flow. So even with growth in staffing that I anticipate as we collect more services around Lorain County, we are expanding, not contracting. The volume of calls is massive. Cell phones now represent 80% of our calls. We get a lot of them. We get tens and tens of thousands of calls. We don't just get hundreds of calls or thousands, tens of thousands of calls. And the capabilities will only increase. We're going into be able to take text messaging and do all
Cuyahoga
that.
County just announced this morning, or maybe yesterday, but I heard it this morning, that they're now doing the text messages capability, so.
Well, we don't have that capability
But
yet
we
because we
will.
don't have the new equipment. Interesting that Cuyahoga County announced it because they have multiple PSAPs. So maybe only one portion of Cuyahoga, they do not have a centralized PSAP in Cuyahoga County. They're still pretty fractured. But whoever did it over there, good for them. It's something that's very necessary. Think about an abused spouse hunkered down in the closet somewhere trying to hide, and the only thing you can do is talk on the phone rather than be able to. This day and age, there's better resources
They actually
available.
had a woman who was in that predicament trying to talk very quietly to 911, so it showed exactly
I said
what
an-
that benefit would be.
I said an abused spouse. I could be hunkered down in the closet.
I don't see that happening anytime soon.
It is 2017. You know. Matt, you looked a little dismayed.
Walk-in closet.
But we need to take advantage of all the capabilities so we provide a better service to the community, and an ongoing evolution of moving forward in the technology, in the capabilities, to bring resources that people have wanted for, and this new generation equipment will be able to find you in a corner of a building rather than just an address off the street. They'll be
what
able to
floor.
pinpoint you by floor, by corner. It's very good. We need to do a little bit more work on the GIS. There's still some trajectory problems in pockets in Lorain County with the GIS that the fire and police have been talking to me about. The GIS folks in the auditor's office have really done a great job, but there's going to be some work on that. I think it's necessary to tighten that up as we go along with the layering of the GIS. So I'm going on and on, but I actually think that we'll be fine within the current levy. I had
Not
actually.
even a replacement?
I think to be fair to the taxpayers, I believe that we can make it work as long as the state does not withdraw the wireless funding. We've seen that in play before. We've seen a little bit of dictatorship on how they worked on that. It was more before. They reduced it. Now, if they stay within the current guidelines, we are a single PSAP, so that was the requirement, to be a single PSAP community. Those that are not a single PSAP community, they're getting penalized with their wireless funding, so we were ahead on that to begin with. That $700,000 plus a year is important to us, but if that remains steady, I believe we can stay within the confines of the generosity on the previous levy from the taxpayers. So I would ask that they continue that, and we provide even greater service and greater capabilities to them within the same dollars. I think we can do that. There's a lot of still unknowns, but I'm feeling pretty comfortable right now with that. And as I said, if the equipment cost and such looks like it's going to go further, I'm probably going to recommend bonding that, which I believe will still give us more than enough cash flow to make it through the next levy period.
And if they sunset that cellular charge or that revenue that we get from that, we could always relook at.
Well, we would have to go back and have a talk with the taxpayers and take a look at that issue. But we would work on decisions at that time. I really have no clear understanding of what the state does these days.
They don't either.
Well, probably true enough. But I don't want to ask taxpayers for more money right now. I think I can make it work for you, for them, and get through another 5 years and bring all this capability, all this technology, the new center and the backup. I think we can make it. I don't think it's that risky. There's a little risk there, but the current dollars will be fine. I'm just hoping for their generosity with the current dollars.
I know some of the early feedback I've received, I've had individuals tell me they'd be comfortable with a renewal. The thing we always have to be careful about is not cutting ourselves too short, because the last thing you want to do is have to go back and ask later. If
Well,
you've done all the cost analysis and we've looked at everything and we're able to handle our finances in an order where a renewal would work, that certainly I think would be something that would be more palatable with taxpayers.
Well, Commissioner, I'm going to keep a copy of this dialogue, because I gave you a lot of variables that
Right. Oh,
that could
right.
happen. So if we do run into some problems in a few years,
Right.
I don't want people thinking that we
Sure.
hadn't talked about those variables.
Sure.
They're there, but I think we owe it to the folks that fund us and support us to take some of those risks and see where we go. I'd rather be working on it than asking for more when we don't really absolutely desperately have to have them more. I'm comfortable. I haven't had a problem with any of the stuff in the past, and I'm comfortable that we can get there to the end of the road. And I'm not even asking for a 10-year or in perpetuity. I think another 5 years. I think that we should invest in working with the taxpayers, and they should invest in working with us. And as you know, I've always been uncomfortable with levies that are more than 5 or years plus. And when I'm uncomfortable with other people doing it, I can't be a hypocrite and come back to you and ask you for more than that. I think that's sufficient to demonstrate to the community that these are vital services and we should partner on them.
Yep.
I would agree. Wonderful. A renewal works for me if that fits within our budget guidelines.
Good.
So we're going to go with the .50 mil renewal.
Correct.
Correct.
And thank you for looking at the other scenarios and the fiscals, but I just wanted to get a look at that. And that was all that was about.
So Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Declare it necessary to levy a tax in excess of the 10 mil limitation to provide funds for the operation of the County Criminal Justice Services for support of the County Sheriff's Drug Task Force pursuant to ORC 5705.19 LL and 30745A1 for the 5 years placed on November 7th, 2017 ballot for duplicate year 2018 collectible 19.08 mil replacement, .080 mil renewal, and .80 mil renewal with a 0.010 increase.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Mr. Pelez, here we go.
Okay, I've looked at the drug task force levy. I've had, pardon me, I've had conversation with the folks out there, and I had hoped to couple this with an announcement today, and I've been teasing that for a couple weeks. Unfortunately, I have not been able to corral the partners. Oh my goodness, pardon me. I have not been able to corral the partners to get the presentation done. I believe our date's going to be July 19th now, as I've spoken to each one of you. We have a fairly good announcement about resources that are going to come to our community and how we're going to capitalize and multiply and leverage those resources. But getting everybody into the same environment to make the announcements has been challenging. And as you know, I'm not going to be here for a little while, and so I won't be able to pivot all those issues. So we felt comfortable with the 19th. But I did want to do this at the same time. Looking at the expenditures and the resources that I know are coming in the future, and that we have a small levy that was already in place for the drug task force, I think right now just a renewal will be fine with the drug task force. In the beginning, the money came in before we could ramp with some of it, so we do have a little bit of money in reserve there to be used moving forward. And this is very discretionary too. So it's not as if we have a problem, we can't make decisions. Most of this is personnel driven. Unlike 911 that has a lot of cash,
Capital.
technology contracts, this is mostly personnel driven. So the decisions on how to deal with the budget are more discretionary than they are, say, in a 911. So I'm very comfortable going to the taxpayers and saying, you provided for this, and a continued support at this level will be enough for us to move forward.
Even with the new building and what we have coming forward and the increases?
What building?
I mean, what building? The one we're going to be doing for the drug task force, so I mean.
That's part of 19th.
I know that, but anyway, but still, I mean, with everything we've got going forward, we're gonna be able to do it under the same. I didn't expect a renewal, I really didn't.
Commissioner, I think that the way I'm cobbling this together with the multiple funding sources, which are going to include 2 or 3 different funding sources, I think we'll be okay. We're all putting a little bit into the. I've already explained to them what I expect from the levy as part of support for this whole project. I'm being very, very sensitive to the fact that there's taxpayer fatigue out there, and I know that for various reasons on some fronts they're not completely happy with us, and I understand that too. So we need to make it work with the money they've provided to us, and we're going to make it work with the money they've provided for us. We're going to find leverage, we're going to find support, we're going to find grants, we're going to find collaborations. What I'm asking them for is continuation, and we'll get the job done.
I did get a couple phone calls in response to an article about the increasing it, and the people that I talked to were not in favor of the increase. They didn't feel that homeowners are the ones that need to, get the bad guys or worry about the drug dealers or the addicts out there. But they were okay with a renewal, but not an increase.
The drug epidemic in Lorain County, Northeast Ohio, and Ohio, which has been we've been disproportionately hit, needs to be dealt with on multiple levels. And one of those levels that we're going to deal with is on trying to make Lorain County a hostile environment to operate for distribution and sales of illegal narcotics. There's efforts to try to limit the legal narcotics that are being misused in the community already. That's one prong. There's efforts underway through various support agencies to deal with treatment, to deal with recovery, to deal with not even getting into addictions.
Prevention.
Right, and so to ignore one piece of that and not put that puzzle together is not going to be a good mosaic that's going to decrease that problem in our community. The drug task force needs to come into 2017. It needs to collaborate. It needs to have the right partners, and we need to get busy in getting out there and making sure that people understand we're never going to eliminate the illegal trafficking in drugs in Lorain County. We're just going to make it hard and difficult for those people to operate in Lorain County, and that's got to be the goal, and that's got to be the effort. And the people that work in this environment in Lorain County, they have to come together to do that. Mm-hmm. Right now, there's a little bit of siloing going on. There's a little bit of things that we need to get everybody back together again on, and we're going to do that. We're going to provide that leadership. We're going to provide that opportunity, and we're going to bring some additional outside resources into this community to do that and facilitate a lot of that. But I just don't think that the taxpayers are prepared to give us more money for that. So what I want to ask them to do is, please give us what you've given us before, and we'll get more out of it. It's just, we have to. And Commissioner, I'm sorry, I know that I would always like to have more money.
Right. Well, I was making sure, I just want to make sure I move the discussion on this over the year and what's going on in our, this morning all over the news is talking about all the counties that are, bringing in freezer trucks to handle all the bodies, because they have no place to put them from all the overdoses. And it's just that real concern that we've got to take this head on as hard and rough as we can, so.
And I think it's important for the taxpayers to know that as we come to you with what I think is very reasonable and fair with this renewal, that the legislature is entertaining the idea of taking $35 million away from local governments. That means $35 million less for police in Elyria, Lorain, and other communities, and sheriff's deputies for us. It goes all the way across the board, and Columbus always they bluff pretty good that they're really concerned, but they don't put the dollars with it. We still need treatment facilities. We see talk about national health care plans that would have a negative impact on people being treated for addiction. And I don't know about you folks. I know in my mailbox, I think every piece of literature I got, whether it's somebody running for state rep or somebody running for U.S. Senate, said, I'm going to take on this opiate issue and we're going to get it done. And everybody talks a good game. But the bottom line is local government and local communities have been abandoned by Columbus. They've been abandoned by the feds, and we're on our own. So we got to take care of our own families. We got to make sure we have the resources for our own law enforcement to crack down on the drugs. And, we still struggle with how we're going to manage to treat everybody. That's the biggest part of the issue. You can't arrest your way out of this. You just can't. And we've got to get people back on their feet. And, and my colleague and I, I'm sure she'll make some comments about it as well, too. We were at this Veterans Treatment Court. There's a lot of people battling very tough issues, and that's just one example. Mm-hmm. But you can't give up on people. You can't just simply say, hey, let them die with the needle in their arm, as I've seen some comments, people making about that. These are people's loved ones. We need to be able to treat these folks, get them back on track, get them back with their families so they can keep their families together, so they can own a home, drive a car, work at the job, and pay taxes, right?
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
And I just wanted to say, when you said Columbus abandoned us, but before they abandoned us, I believe they robbed us and then abandoned us. They took all of our local government funds, and so every community's hurting with this epidemic, and they're also hurting financially, which is preventing them from helping people that are addicted and preventing them from becoming addicted.
They're sitting on that $2 billion surplus. And I know some people say, hey, this is just folks playing political games and playing partisan politics. It's not that at all.
No.
There's
Republicans
$2 billion.
And Democrats are trying to get that money back. It's not a partisan issue.
That's right. $2 billion sitting down there, and we have a serious problem in Ohio. And in fact, I don't even think it's been declared an epidemic yet by the governor. So the resources should be going where they're needed. They're needed at the local level. I think Columbus gets some sick satisfaction out of making local leaders look bad, because we're the ones who have to keep going back to the community asking for more resources when they're sitting on a boatload of $2 billion in rainy day funds that need to be coming back. That's your money. That's your money. You should be very upset. You should be outraged that the leaders in Columbus are keeping your money and not sending it back. And then they're forcing you to pay more. They recently provided a big tax break, which has clearly shown that it's not producing jobs in Ohio, and it led to $1 billion deficit. All they need to do is get rid of this one tax break alone, and that would help at least get us closer to balancing the state budget. But they'd rather keep your money so they can give the tax breaks, generally benefiting the wealthy. I don't know if there's any wealthy folks in the room. Good for you. And then they put the burden on you and us to deal with it locally. So when we make these requests, it's the reality of what the Kasich administration has done to Ohio. It's all been kicked down to the local level.
So we are going to go with the renewal.
Correct.
0.80 mil renewal.
Correct.
Okay. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kalo.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Under Children and Families, amend Resolution 17276 adopted April 26 with Catholic Charities Corporation for the purchase and delivery of youth mentoring services on an as-needed basis for the family-centered support and services FCSS grant for state fiscal year 17. Amendment will reflect an increase of $4,000 for a total of $11,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Community Development award a contract to Gregory Trucking, Inc., Elyria, in the amount of $22,567.55, which includes a contingency for the downtown sidewalk improvement project Overland. $18,800 will be provided from CDBG program year 16, and City of Overland will provide $3,767.55. Issue notice to proceed on or before June 28th and to complete on or before August 15th. Authorize county administrator to notify the auditor to release retainage and completion of project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Solid Waste approve the issuance of waivers from designation pursuant to standard form of waiver agreement effective retroactive to May 1st, 2017 through February 28, 2018 for Legacy Waste and Recycling, Inc. and Pete and Pete Container Services, Inc.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Domestic Relations, approve and enter an agreement with Ohio Department of Job and Family Services to define the relationship or responsibilities between the agencies and seek Title 20 federal financial participation on behalf of Domestic Relations Court Juvenile Division effective July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Mr. Cortez.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I thought I had more, but I ended up only with two this morning I need to bring from the floor. Commissioners, we're requesting that well, I'm going to pass this to the clerk and then I'll explain it after she takes a look at it. It's actually to transfer money at Job and Family Services, basically from one side of the house to the other to be able to get more flexibility out of dollars and then not have to return them, and they're substantial. We've done this before. It allows us to use, I don't want to use the word excess, but unspent monies to better support our CSEA operation, which, as you know, it's a split dual operation. A lot of people just think of it as completely Job and Family Services, but
Right.
there is two agencies there. Over the last couple of decades, they just become blended in the thinking, but they're separate. And if Madam Clerk reads it, I'll explain what happened here to you.
Authorize Job and Family Services to enter into a plan for the transfer of funds allocated by the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services for state fiscal year 2017.
There was, we received enhanced Medicaid funding for the new Medicaid expansion from the federal government, and all of those funds were used to pay for the Medicaid expansion and cost this year, which actually the funds in our regular Medicaid and enhancement funds left a balance in the regular Medicaid funds when cobbled together. Two things can happen to those funds. They can go back out of Lorain County, or those additional dollars can be transferred to CSEA for allocation over there for the work over there. And my understanding is that that's several $100,000. I'd rather keep the money in Lorain County and use it for program services for our community and our residents here in Lorain County than to ship it back to the federal level. So I'm asking that we allow the director to make and facilitate that transfer to CSEA, and good job to them for juggling those dollars to make sure that we get maximum efficiency and effectiveness here in Lorain County from what we are able to bring home from the federal level.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
And I've also have a Main Street grant. We're trying to get this money spent. We're pushing deadlines on getting all that money spent in the Main Street grant in Amherst. This is a really nice trifecta with 3 different funding sources to do a project in Amherst, and they'll pass that down. we've done a bunch of these, and we're going to get a closeout presentation on the effect, and we'll demonstrate to the community how when a city, a county, Main Street, and the state with a grant all come together, how you can transform a small downtown, and they've done a really great job in downtown Amherst. I'm really extremely proud of our collaboration with those folks down there, and it's been a real great working environment. And as you know, we're going to be trying for another one and it's Oberlin. I have talked with Wellington. They're a little upset that they're not the pick this time for our emphasis, but I have something that I'm cobbling together that I want to give you to take a look at, maybe doing a local assistance for storefronts similar to this, but in a smaller way. I think we can provide something local to help Wellington. They're a small community, so their needs small, and we may be able to deal with that at home. But right now, I'll ask for your approval on this project and look for more to come in July.
Okay.
Award a contract to Main Street Amherst to receive a grant assistance CDBG program year 15 set aside from the private rehab activity for 2255 Park Avenue in the amount of $10,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundey.
Aye.
Anything else, Mr. Cordez?
I'm trying to run it through my brain. I will not be at next week's meeting, so you'll have to find some other form of entertainment. Other than that, I wish everybody a happy 4th. It's an important holiday. Sometimes we think it's all about fireworks and picnics and barbecues, but it's a significant holiday in our history, probably more significant than most. And it's a celebration of democracy and freedom. And so people should think about that along with all the other things that they do that day. So bless us all for our freedoms, and we need to maintain all of those freedoms. Thank you.
Mr. Innes.
I have 2 matters of pending litigation that I would like to discuss with the commissioners in executive session.
Jerry always makes sure he keeps his job. He's always got something legal going on.
Commissioners report.
Keep you busy.
Well, first, I just want to say I'm sorry that Eddie Edwards, councilman in Lorain, passed away yesterday. I served with him for about 5 years on city council. He was our chaplain. He always did a nice job at that, always fought for his constituents, especially down in the South Lorain. So he'll be missed by many. This past Thursday, we had our Keep Lorain County Beautiful meeting. We had it at Lorain County Community College. Joan Perch hosted us there. One of the things that we did was we wrapped up our Pride Day events, and I'm not going to list them because they're a mile long of all the things that were done on Pride Day. And we're also looking at National Planting Day, and last week we had a presentation from Coldwater for the Margaret Peak stream restoration that they did. Well, for National Planting Day, there's a project that we're looking at doing of planting some trees and some prairie grass and other things to beautify that area even more. So I will pass this on to the clerk, and she could put it in board business so you guys can all see that. Saturday, I want to congratulate my great-grandson, Bobby Sabados, who graduated from high school. He had a party at my niece's house, and it was a really nice day. Kids swam and swam. It was a great day. It was really cute, I just have to say. My grandkids were coming home with me, and my granddaughter was in the back seat, and I saw her nodding off. She was tired from swimming all day, and I said, Ava, don't go to sleep yet. Don't go to sleep. We're almost home. She said, I'm not, Gigi. I just took a long blink. I thought that was the cutest thing ever. I just took a long blink. What else? Oh, Monday we had our Goodwill Board meeting. Not a lot to report there. But then after that, as Commissioner Lundy mentioned, we went to Judge Walther had his, I think it's like his 3rd or 4th graduation class for Veterans Treatment Court. Chief Sel Rivera from Lorain, who is a veteran himself, gave the opening remarks, and we learned a lot about him. Very moving story of his coming here, being in a foster home, walking in, not speaking English, and walking out not speaking Spanish, and just a lot of things. He was talked about sitting at a bench waiting for the bus to take him to the service at the corner of West Erie and Broadway, and ended up that's where he's been working for the last 40-some years as policeman and chief of police in the city of Lorain. So very moving story. They had 5 graduates, all of which did not want to participate at first in the Veterans Treatment Court, but now are so grateful that they did, because they got through it and they're in recovery and they're doing well, and especially for them and their families who also attended. So great job, both Judge Walther with his Veterans Treatment Court and Judge John Moraldi, who does for the opiates. So end of my report.
Wonderful. Yeah, condolences to Eddie Edwards' family. I go back to Eddie in the late 70s when I worked for a construction company as a union laborer, and he had his trucking company. So I go way back with Eddie. We've been friends a long time, and he did dedicate most of his life to the betterment of the city of Lorain. Also, congratulations, 51st Annual Lorain International Festival went off without a hook. Commissioner Lundy and I participated in the parade. The food was good as usual. I've been talking the last few weeks here about the state budget, and it's been top of our conversation. Through the Commissioners Association, we've all been working on an amendment to the Medicaid MCO. It's been shot down, brought back, and you'll probably understand this better than me, but yesterday the amendment was submitted by Rep. Zeitz and Senator Dolan in the conference committee report voted out last evening. Now it goes for final discussion to see if it will be included. What it's asking to happen is that the state goes back to the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and ask them to reset the franchise fee on health insuring corporations to raise the additional $207 million per year that's going to be taken from counties and from transit authorities. If federal approval is granted, the state will distribute payments shortly after July 2018 to county and transit authorities. And Lorain County's expected impact is to lose slightly over $2 million a year in sales tax. If they do get this done, not only will we get the 1 year set aside that they're talking about doing for just this year, but it will also give a 6-year fill-in under that while the state figures out how they're going to deal with the Medicaid sales tax. So we're just hoping that we want to thank Rep. Zeitz, Rep. Schuring, Senator Dolan, and leaders in both houses who've been carrying this forward for us. A lot of them former county commissioners who've been pushing this for us. And then if it gets through that the governor doesn't veto it. So,
Yeah, because it'll come out of conference committee, so it'll be sent back, and then there has to be concurrence, basically.
horse trading.
Yeah, they'll be done, and then, but in the budget, everything's, pretty much a line item, so the governor can always veto various line items, so there's still that option available.
That's the concern, that the
Yeah,
governor would veto
right.
it, because as they tell us all the time, figure it out.
Right.
Jim?
Well, this reminds me of the personal property tax years ago, and there was a workout for a couple years, if you recall, where there was a phase down after they did away with the personal property tax.
Right.
And after, it was a step down over 5 years, but it doesn't matter, that revenue stream completely evaporated, and there was no fill-in after the 5 years.
Similar to the estate tax with municipalities.
Exactly, and so the estate tax went away. The estate tax actually hit the townships pretty hard. They did fairly well on the estate tax. So you get a couple of years, but you have to backfill that, and most of the communities were never able to properly backfill that after the laws changed. The state has continued to invade the sales tax. Traditionally, states relied upon income tax. Counties relied upon sales tax. Municipalities relied upon a combination of income tax and levy tax. The state has invaded all of those things and continues to drive down the income tax and pushing further and further into the sales tax arena, which makes it complicated because counties don't own any of the income tax ability that the state owns. And that push has been in both colors. It's both been in red and blue. So it has not been just one party doing that. It's been a mindset by the states, although it has accelerated in the last few years. They need to give us better tools here at the local level. If they're going to take it away, just give us some tools. And $2 million is a lot of money to overcome, even with the sales tax increase. We already had a looming deficit. We already had reductions in local government fund, and then another $2 million, and the list goes on and on and on. I'm not comfortable that we're going to see the governor approve this, Commissioner. He has indicated a lack of support for this.
I more than realize that, sir.
$2 million hit.
Yeah, $2 million hit going forward. End of my report.
Okay, thanks for all the good news.
Fine.
Also want to express my condolences and sympathy to the family of Eddie Edwards. Got to know him a lot better once I got into public service, and just always a great guy to talk to, and very, very dedicated public servant. He's definitely going to be very missed. Want to congratulate the owners of Extreme Performance, Steve Ollie and his wife Tina. They were named the North Ridgeville Business of the Year at the North Ridgeville Chamber Luncheon. Other businesses recognized were the North Ridgeville Eye Center, the Goddard School, and also brand new Dunkin' Donuts, which is over there on Lorain Road. I want to thank Tony Shanahan, our assistant, for putting together those commendations. I used to always tell my office in Columbus, I know it seems like it's a lot of work to get those things done, but folks really appreciate those. And sometimes you run in the lobbies in different businesses, and you'll see them up on the wall there in the lobby. And but very appreciative of the recognition. But yeah, really nice people. Have always enjoyed going to North Ridgeville Chamber luncheons. Also, congratulations to Mary Crehor, who's retiring as the library director for the Avon Lake Library. She had been there 15 years. Prior to that, she was down in Grafton. Also had worked over at Amherst, as always called Lorain County home. And I can tell you she's always been just a joy to work with. She's one of those people that when you run into her, or you see on the schedule that you're meeting with Mary that day, you always know you're going to have an enjoyable part of the day. Not every meeting's enjoyable, but certainly, you know, you're going to have an enjoyable meeting with Mary. Always has a smile and warm welcome and everything, and just a great lady. So, but I'm sure she'll continue to stay very active in the community. Lakefront Lorain County, we continue to move forward. You'll be seeing announcements coming forward for our next 2 public feedback sessions. The 2 remaining sessions, since we've already held meetings in Vermilion and Sheffield Lake. Next to come, Lorain and also Avon Lake. The Lorain feedback session for Lakefront Lorain County will be at Lorain High School at 6 p.m. on July 27th. And then in Avon Lake on August 2nd in Avon Lake, July 27th in Lorain. Both of those start at 6 p.m. The one in Avon Lake will be held at the Lake House. The one in Lorain will be at Lorain High. And we're looking forward to that, making good progress. Just kind of on a side note, Saturday had the opportunity to spend a beautiful summer day over at the Summit Racing Park in Norwalk. And boy, what an operation that is over there. And they bring in so many people from around the country that come into that place. The stands were packed. I think $60 a person to get in. And it was just, it's something that brings good national attention to the region.
Do you know how hard I worked to post
I know,
that
sir. I know.
out of that county?
I know.
And I got how close.
I know. Every
We
time
never-
I go there, I think about it.
We never did, because we never did talk about that, because we never did complete that project. We were, Commissioner Kalo, about 90% there, and
Yep. It was a nice referral from a young man, Tommy Olak, who
The-
passed
the,
away from the Norwalk.
identified property,
Economic.
identified all the elements, and at the end of the day, the owner made a decision that he really wanted more to retire and pass the baton to the sons than to relocate the whole complex.
Well, the
But
Huron County Commissioner stepped up
Yeah.
to fix his issues with the airport there, which was a major issue.
I
About
still,
his
didn't know that all of that has been.
Oh, they were fine. My son-in-law had family up from Nashville for the races the other day. They all drove right through the airport, and that's how they do the parking and everything else now. So they must have fixed their issues at the airport.
I wish they hadn't.
Yeah, they made a great addition to Lorain County.
Worked a lot on that project, but the economic impact is amazing. They have the 2 national events there, bring in 50,000 people for each event. The trickle down is great for any community. Now we do feel some of that over in Lorain County. So Route 18 and all through there gets a lot of activity when they have those national events.
Yeah.
But it's a great place.
Yeah, amazing operation. Also, as Ted had pointed out, had the opportunity to participate in the Lorain International Parade. They kind of shortened up the parade route a little bit. Of course, Ted still did a lot of running because he stops to give the dog biscuits to the dogs and always has to catch up with the rest of us. So he got his run in for Sunday. But great turnout at the parade. Always great to see all the families down there. And then, of course, the best part is afterwards going over and actually getting some food, filling up on some international food. That was enjoyable. And just the weather was fantastic. It was really nice. Great weekend for the festival. I want to thank everybody involved with organizing that. As I said, I went to the Princess breakfast there last Wednesday, just peeked my head in for about a half hour and then had to run over here for the board meeting. But all the organizers, folks with the parade, everybody did a great job, and just so proud to say we have the international city here in the county. Also, congratulations, Councilwoman Pam Carter. She held her event on Sunday, and I know she's completing her rookie season, I guess, and getting ready for another term, and but working very hard at things. And as Commissioner Kokoski said about the Veterans Treatment Court, for those of you who want to give up on anybody who has addiction issues, I would strongly urge you to make a call to Judge Walther, find out when the next graduation is, come in and see that firsthand. But these are our veterans. These are brave men and women who've served our country, and it's a great way to go that extra mile to help them through some difficulties that they have in working through things in society, and getting them back on track and making their lives better. And I think every single one, as you pointed out, Lori said that, I didn't want to be here, and I pushed back as much as possible, and didn't even like you, Judge, and
You're my problem.
You're my problem, Judge. I guess one of the guys pointed to the judge and said that. But at the end of the day, I guess the great analogy was the story about the person who has to climb up on the horse and break the horse, and finally, when you break the horse becomes your best friend. So and it's just great to see. And Sal Rivera's comments about what he went through in the early part of his life, and the role that the service played for him, and sharing that personal experience with some of the servicemen and women who had gone through some difficulties. Wow, there weren't many dry eyes in the room that day, that's for sure. And Sal did an amazing job, amazing story. And I guess we'll send out an early happy birthday for Friday. I guess our Lorain Lighthouse is going to be 100 years young.
Sure.
And a lot of folks don't know, when I was working in broadcasting, which took me away from Lorain County, and Lorain County always being home, every place I went, I took a picture of the Lorain Lighthouse that I always put on my desk. That was my connection with back home, and I think everybody in this county, whether it's our county courthouse or the lighthouse, I think there's always that special connection of being home or seeing home when you see those places. So, okay, Madam President, that completes my lengthy report.
Okay.
Board correspondence.
I move we waive the reading and approve the correspondence.
Second.
Ms. Kowski?
Aye.
Mr. Kayla?
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
Public comment?
Anybody wishing to address the board this morning? Come on up. Up. Good morning. You know
Good
the drill,
morning
name and
again.
address for the record.
Jeff Baxter, I'm 160 Burns Road, Elyria, Ohio. 36-year Elyria resident, born in Lorain, Lorain County boy. Good morning again. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to help educate the voters of Lorain County. If we did not have the 2 petitions initiatives that folks are out gathering signatures for, I wouldn't have this opportunity. I've spoken to thousands of voters over the past month and a half or so, And it's been a lot of work to educate them on how petition process works. But it's a good thing, I think, and I think the voters appreciate understanding that a little bit. A lot of knowledge has been gained by these voters, and it's good knowledge. This knowledge gain is about the petition process and the role of the commissioners in both of these issues. I continue to talk with voters, and I'm going to report again that voters are very unhappy with what happened. So I think I just want to ask you again to consider a resolution to repeal the tax after 1 year. I think that would help improve the vision of the commissioners in the eyes of the voters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jeanine Donaldson,
Good morning, Jeanine.
1515 South Lakeview Boulevard, Lorain, Ohio. But I'm also the CEO of the YWCA of Elyria that has been in this community for 104 years, and we reside here in Elyria. I come before you without prepared remarks. It's that time of year again. It's the time for fairs and festivals and funnel cakes and fried ice cream and fried cheese and community and fun. However, there's going to be several thousand of us that won't go to the Lorain County Fair this year. And I know that some of you didn't go to the fair last year. So I'm just coming here to ask you not to give up on having the flag, the Confederate flag, removed from the County Fair Board. I visited the County Fair Board about a month or so ago and just reminded them that the Ohio State Fair, our state fair, does not permit the sale of Confederate memorabilia at the fair. I also reminded them that their own bylaws, Item 1, Section 1 in the Lorain County Fair Board bylaws state, under no circumstances will items of a questionable nature be sold or permitted on fairgrounds or in the building. And there are several thousand of us again that feel that the Confederate flag and memorabilia is controversial, highly controversial. Some folks say, why is the YWCA engaged in this activity? Because we have formed the Fair-Minded Coalition, which has about 35 different organizations that belong to us now. The YWCA, in any community that you go to, whether it's Pittsburgh or San Diego or San Antonio, Texas, the mission of all YWCAs in the United States is the elimination of racism and the empowerment of women. And when we go to our conferences and workshops and national conventions, we spend a great deal of time looking at issues around racial justice. And what we know, and working with partners such as the Southern Poverty Law Institute, what we know from working with other organizations is that for many folks who believe that the Confederate flag is just merely either a piece of cloth or something from our history and very nostalgic, we know that in today's world, the Confederate flag is the #1 recruiting tool that's used by neo-Nazi groups and other white supremacist groups. The flag for a lot of folks, again, is no big deal, but for many of us, and you know, when you were talking about Sel, and I've heard Sel's story, it reminds me of, you know, I do this because it's my job to do it, but I also do it because of personal connection. You know, my mother came from Toccoa, Georgia. When she was 7 years old in 1925, she came and moved to Sandusky, Ohio. And my dad lived in Nashville, and he grew up there, and he was born in 1912, so they lived in the South. And for a lot of African Americans, the South and the Confederate flag, it's remnants of a time that really has traumatized us as a people. And that flag reminds us of that. And it's similar to like when veterans, they don't talk about the war. You know, the veterans don't talk about the Vietnam War or World War II, and a lot of African Americans don't talk about the experience in the South. But I can remember one time I was watching TV with my mom, and it was a TV show, and it showed the Ku Klux Klan riding up in a town. And she says, "They came to our house." I said, "What are you talking about?" And she says when she was a little girl in Toccoa, Georgia, which is very near South Carolina, her dad had already moved to Sandusky to work in Farrell Cheek's steel factory. And so my grandma and her 5 siblings were still in Georgia. And at that time, she was about 5 or 6 years old. And the Klan did come up on the house. And my grandma comes out with a rifle on the front porch and says, "You know, there's nobody here but me and my babies." So it's that kind of trauma that my mother never would have told me that story, but for she saw it on TV. And I also now understand about my dad. When I was a teenager, I used to watch my dad be very deferential to white people. He was always yes, sir, and no, ma'am, and even to the garage mechanic. And I just thought, well, why are you being like that? And it wasn't until I learned my history about little black boys that grow up in the South that if they didn't walk on the right side of the street, you know, when they saw white people coming, or even the Emmett Till story, that things that they could be lynched. And this Confederate flag was the #1 symbol for those kinds of activities that permitted them to go on up until after the Civil Rights era. So there's no reason that here in Ohio, and especially at our Lorain County Fair, that we should be selling it. So commissioners, I know that according to their bylaws, you are ex officio members of the Fair Board. So would you please remind your colleagues to do what the Ohio State Fair Board has done and ban the sale of memorabilia? Thank you.
Yeah, I think your request is, it's a very reasonable request to simply follow the policy and the guidelines of the state fair. The state fair doesn't make decisions lightly, and they made very clear to the vendors they thought that would be offensive material. I think clearly if you were to do any focus group anywhere in the country and asked, is this a symbol that unites or divides? Is this a symbol of love or hate? I think you'd get the clear definition of what it's for, and I continue to believe that when people see that, I don't want them to get the wrong perception of our county. I believe we're a county that embraces diversity, and as we just pointed out earlier, our county's home to the international city. So I think it's also important for you to know that we want to be very supportive of the 4-H students involved with projects out there, and decisions are made by adults, and but we don't want it to have a negative impact on the children, and that we have reached out to be supportive of some awards that are going to be presented to the 4-H students there, to make sure that we make very clear that we support the students. We're disappointed by the decision made by some adults, but we certainly support the students and what they do.
Mr. Phillips, name and address, please.
Gerald Phillips, 461 Windward Way, Avon Lake, Ohio. Resident of Lorain County for 34 years. Community activist, and I guess you can call me a rebel rouser. Here's my report. I got engaged by Columbia Township in connection with their issue about annexation. Happy to report that, and it probably was in the newspaper, that the applicant withdrew the application, indicated on the record that he intended to file something with the commissioners on or before Monday, withdrawing it. It's really a moot point because the city of Olmstead Falls won't pass 3 pieces of legislation on or before the 29th, and without it, it couldn't have been, it can't be approved anyway. But that process in Columbia Township is a true example of democracy in progress, in the sense of getting the residents from both communities, educating them what the issue was, getting involved in that process. And it's a clear example of the petitioning process, which we have as a constitutional right to petition our government for redress. So it was a good citizens' effort to get them involved. And any involvement getting citizens in issues, I think, is good. That council meeting was packed. They had police there. They exceeded the fire code. They had to bring in chairs. So I don't expect that this issue is going to come back. It's my opinion, contrary to what is in the newspapers, that the representative people in Olmstead Falls realize that it's not good for their community, not good for Columbia Township. I would be totally shocked if they would approve it. It was my opinion that the reason why it was withdrawn, there's an old saying, if you have the votes, you call the roll. The applicant didn't have the votes, knew it was going to get defeated, so that's why it was withdrawn. And your July 18th hearing won't be needed on that issue. Sales tax. I also was at the Lorain International Festival Parade and also at the festival. I wasn't marching. I was getting signatures. I got 500 signatures over the weekend at the festival. We're going to get enough signatures to get it on the ballot in order to meet the requirement. And I know where it's going to head. I mean, Mr. Innes has already indicated that we don't have the legal rights. It's going to get up into litigation. But that's a route I would hope we can avoid. I think all it does is create more bad will. It's not going to help your huge PR problem. It's just going to make it worse. And you'll never get out above your bad rating, which is lower than Donald Trump. So I hope we can deal with this issue in another manner. Third item is the 7 districts. They are going to get their signatures based on my information. And from my experience in getting signatures, what's extremely helping them get the signatures and their support is the sales tax issue. I explain the sales tax issue. Their circulator comes right next to me, and they just get the signature automatically because of the animosity about the sales tax, okay, and the way you did it. So it's a problem, and I hope you listen to Jeff Baxter in my comments and definitely, you know, consider dealing with that issue. I'm not supportive of the 7 districts. I'm not getting signatures. I could be getting signatures if I was support, but I'm not. I'm not supportive of the actual petition and the content and the group behind it. Although generally I'm open to the concept of a charter form of government as far as a better way of government, but I'm not supporting that effort. I signed that petition back in March. I intend to notify the circulator that I want my signature removed because I don't want to be associated with it. But if this issue gets on the ballot,
Why not?
why? Because I don't support the petition, the actual specific language in it.
What parts?
The what?
What parts?
Well, that's for another discussion, okay? I mean, and I'm not supportive of the people involved in the process. So, but if it gets on the ballot, and if it fails, and if the commissioners continue to ignore the taxpayers, and you don't listen, and an example is the sales tax, you know, there may be a new group for a new charter, which is a better one in the future. So this issue may not go away. Mr. Innes and I met in connection with trying to work something out, you know, in connection with the sales tax issue. We made progress. It's been positive. We still are pursuing it, but we do have a short time frame to deal with it. And some of the ideas is what Mr. Baxter has mentioned. I have some personal thoughts on the issue of the sales tax. You know, I understand the commissioner's position on it. I know that the rate is one of the lowest in the county, okay?
State.
Well, in the state, but I mean, all the other counties, there's only a few that have a less rate. And I've talked to many people, but these are some potential ideas to help educate the people, inform them, and help convince them that it's needed and to get it passed. Limited to a specific purpose, not to the general fund. If necessary, get a citizen advisory group to help with the process of determining the need and also to monitor it and spend it. There's certain issues I think that the public would be very receptive if it was geared to it. Drug enforcement, drug treatment, the opium problem, the sheriff, the safety, the drug addiction, the drug alcohol, 9/11, things of that nature. I think, you know, it would help the passage of it. I've been an activist, and obviously I was successful in activating people and getting them educated, opposing the annexation. I've been involved when they were trying to privatize Metro Hospital. Metro Hospital is public today because I work with groups to keep it public to help the indigent in Cuyahoga County. I represented groups in Lakewood when they were going to take those homes on the Lakewood West End by eminent domain. I previously indicated to you that I would help you, and that's a sincere promise that I will. But I hope, you know, you restore your confidence with the people, okay, and proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, I move that we go into executive session as outlined by the administrator and assistant county prosecutor.
Second.
Ms. Kowski.
Aye.
Mr. Kayla.
Aye.
Mr. Lundy.
Aye.
This has been a broadcast of the recent Lorain County Commissioners' General Meeting. Unless otherwise announced, meetings are held Wednesday morning at 9:30 at the Administration Building, 226 Middle Avenue, 4th floor, downtown Elyria. These are public meetings, and you are invited to attend. Agendas are posted prior to the meeting at www.loraincounty.us. Click on Departments to see the Commissioners page, then click on View Agenda for a printable copy of the agenda.